China manufactures more than two-thirds of the world's solar panels. Kevin Freya, Getty Images. President Donald Trump has finally dealt his first blow to China's economy. On Monday afternoon, the U.S. Trade Representative, the agency that oversees the country's trade policy, announced that the U.S. is imposing 30% tariffs, or border taxes, on imported solar panels. Since most of the solar panels in the U.S. come from China, the world's leader in solar power production, the move is a pointed jab at Beijing. Announcing the new tariffs, U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer accused China of unfair trade practices like using large government subsidies to boost the production of panels and give China a leg up over international competitors. Wang Hejun, a top trade official in China's Commerce Ministry, expressed strong dissatisfaction with the U.S.'s move in a statement on Tuesday, and said that Beijing intends to resolutely defend its legitimate interests. The tariffs are Trump's first strike at China's economy after a year of procrastinating on campaign promises to get tough on U.S. trade with China. And it could be the first of many. Trump must make decisions on whether to punish Beijing over the way it produces steel and aluminum, and allegedly steals intellectual property from U.S. businesses, in the coming months. About a decade ago, China was a minor player in solar panel manufacturing, but today it's a global powerhouse and creates more than two-thirds of the world's panels. Its dominance has taken a toll in production in the U.S. More than a dozen U.S. solar panel manufacturers have shuttered factories in the past 6 years, in part because they've been unable to compete with Chinese producers. Edward Alden, a trade expert at the Council on Foreign Relations, told me that the 30% tariffs, which will shrink incrementally in subsequent years, are going to have a real impact on the Chinese solar panel industry. But he also pointed out that China will likely also take note of the fact that Trump could have made the tariffs even higher but opted instead for a moderate approach. Trump could have acted alone. Instead, he went with a bipartisan recommendation. The Trump administration issued tariffs after considering the recommendations of an independent, bipartisan panel called the U.S. International Trade Commission. That panel was tasked with measuring how the influx of foreign solar panels has caused harm to domestic manufacturers, and submitted recommendations for tariffs based on their assessment of the damages. On balance, those recommendations came out to around 30% tariffs on solar panels. Trump had three main options. He could have chosen to issue tariffs that were less severe than those recommendations. He could have gone with what the Commission recommended. Or he could have gone with something more severe than it recommended, tariffs of 40 to 50%, to signal how tough he's willing to get with China. Alden says that by going with the Commission's recommendation, Trump chose the middle ground. In other words, tough but not spectacularly adversarial. And by acting in accordance with recommendations from a commission that's supposed to be bipartisan, Trump's move looks more technocratic than political. So while China isn't happy about the tariffs, the measured way Trump actually went about it won't go unnoticed by Beijing or the trade world more broadly. China isn't the only one angered by Trump's decision. Much of the broader solar industry in the U.S., which is composed of businesses that install solar panels, lobbied against these tariffs. They argued that the punishing border taxes will increase their costs and deal a blow to their businesses. As my colleague Umair Irfan notes, of the roughly 260,000 to 370,000 workers in the U.S. solar industry, only about 38,000 work in manufacturing, most of the rest work in installation. Alden says that solar panel manufacturers in the U.S. need technological breakthroughs to make production more efficient, and that on balance, the solar industry in the U.S. won't see a huge boost from Trump's move. The net effect will be to slightly raise the cost of installation without any significant benefit to domestic manufacturing, he told me. The administration also announced tariffs on washing machines, a strike that mainly hits South Korea. South Korea's Samsung Electronics and LG Electronics hold a quarter of the U.S. market, shipping between 2.5 million and 3 million washing machines to the U.S. every year. South Korea's Trade Minister Kim Hyun-chong said the U.S. had violated World Trade Organization rules with its tariffs. The United States has opted for measures that put political considerations ahead of international standards, Kim told industry officials on Tuesday.